Our SreeSankar Head Institutional Equities, Prabhudas Lilladher, is also with us. With markets open, I'll get a quick comment from him. Sri, good morning. I just want to get into a very simple issue, which is the credibility of a central bank. I read a statement out by the central bank 3 days after the demonetization was announced, which is where they told people, don't rush to the bank. You will be able to convert the rupee, your old notes, up to December 31st at your convenience. Now, a government can make that statement and take it back. But a central bank is the custodian of issuing a paper which people accept as legal tender. First of all, that was violated because the note says, I promise to pay the bearer. Of course, you're not paying the bearer, so that's violated. Then you go ahead and say you can't even exchange the currency. What does it do to the credibility of the central bank and the debasement of the currency itself? Because it's completely based on trust. It's not a gold coin, it's not a silver coin.
Ashu, from my perspective, it is effectively when you say that you have the 500 as well as 1,000 rupees note, currency note, when it has been demonetized. And if I'm not mistaken, they have never used the word demonetization anywhere in their press release, have they? But having said that, they will need to take care of the scenario as and when it crops up. They would have definitely anticipated some kind of disruption, but I'm not very sure the disruption to what extent what we have seen right now probably has been anticipated. So I would only think that depending upon the case, maybe more dynamic decisions will need to be taken. And to my mind, when I saw the news on the 8th of November, my first reaction has been, let me walk across to the ATM, withdraw some cash. Over the next few days, there could be a huge amount of disruption. But did I bargain for the kind of problems that has been there till today, for 25th today? No, in fact, probably I've been a bit surprised. And when I come to my office every day, then I pass through some areas where I can see the queues in front of the bank branches even at 7:30 in the morning. So that tells me that the kind of a disruption that one has anticipated or one is seeing is more than one probably was anticipated on 8th of November. This is the way I look at it. So now, to hold anybody for the statement that they made on 8th, and to my mind, they also need to look at what is the reality and probably take necessary corrective measures to help out the customer or help out the entire people who are holding those kind of notes.
Shri, I usually try while trying to read financial markets not to let visual narratives change my mind, which is longer lines mean markets will go down, because usually visual narratives are more powerful but may have limited impact on financial markets. However, if I remove the visual narrative part of it, Sri, even then if I look down the economy, yesterday I heard one of the major FMCGs saying we're going to cut our advertising budget by half because since nobody's buying, there's no really need to advertise. So, there is a major impact which is a multiplier effect into the service economy, which is advertising, which is promotion, which is a lot of things people do as a service for a manufacturing company. That's all getting hit. Given that scenario, are we being very optimistic, Sri, when we say that GDP will be cut by 2%? Is it possible that sometimes, contractions are not just economic, contractions are psychological, that the impact could actually be a zero GDP scenario?
Very interesting question, Ashu, but my thought process on it. Number one, we did have an interaction with some of the consumer goods retailers, etc., where in consumer goods retailers are also where the payments through credit cards, EMS are as high as probably 70%. Performance has been pretty found wanting in the last couple of days, last few days, last couple of 10 days plus, etc., after the demonetization effect. So obviously a psychological impact has also gone into it. That's number one. Number two, when we look at the performance of a lot of these companies, obviously the manufacturer gives it across to the C&F agents, to the wholesaler, to the bigger retailer, and the distribution chain, it goes on. In many of these product segments, at the last mile connectivity or the last mile sales is probably not happening to that extent. So on the and for that to happen, for the entire chain to be fell through, it may take some time. So to my mind, November as a month is effectively a washout for many of these companies. December could be seeing an improvement. I'm assuming that the disruptions caused by the logistical problems of the cash being not available in ATM stroke branches, that gets sorted out. Once it gets sorted out, there should be an improvement in December. And as a consequent to it, probably the 3Q FY17 result, quarter ending December, is going to be a washout. And we have to reassess what is going to be the earnings for many of these companies out there. So the fact you mentioned about your advertisement budget getting reduced, etc., will be fell through because this performance, everybody must be budgeting for third quarter FY17 not being good. Now, my estimate is that should it be fell through continuously? No, everybody needs to go across to the movement from this extent to more of a from a cash to check or whatever kind of a transaction.
Apologies again.
छुट्टी थी